I'm just realizing too, I never really paid too much attention to the timing of my ejection with Jeb there. I just sort of went, oh well, that's good enough. I really should really get this timed better. I didn't even do that. I'm noticing this coming in crazy polar orbit. What? There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. I didn't even look at the inclination for Jeb's orbit. I hope Jeb's gonna be okay. Okay. Well, these guys, I'm gonna play a little bit with the timing. Maybe do this a little more sensibly. You want this orbit to be pretty close to equatorial. Actually, now that I think about it, one of these, there's two stations here, and one of them's in a 6-degree inclination. This is the one I'm really shooting for with this vessel. I should try and not really worry about being equatorial, but more worry about seeing if I can match. That's looking pretty good. Oh my god, that's a very small inclination difference with that. Let's dial this out a bit. Oh, I have my thingies way too low. Okay. So I'm kind of looking at two different things now at the same time. I should have done this for Jeb, but I didn't because I was stupid. But one is I want a periapsis around 45 degrees, but the other thing I want is a reasonably small inclination difference. See if I can get both. It's like I got a seesaw happening with the AN and the DN. Let's turn the scale up a little bit. That might have been a little bit too aggressive. Yeah. So I'm playing with the retrograde, whoops, the other way. The prograde, retrograde, and the timing. This is good. This is really good. Okay, so I got a periapsis of about 45 degrees. And my inclination difference with the target station, despite the target station being in a 6-degree inclined orbit itself, is only 0.7 degrees. So I'm happy with that. I'll have to check on Jeb because I didn't even look with Jeb whether I was doing this in any kind of sensible way. Let's open up KOS. We are in the SN2. Okay. Run that align script again. If I can spell align, that would really help. There we go. Okay, so let's get back to here. So our maneuver's here. So what we're going to do is do this one a little bit more proper-like. Once the vessel has finished aligning itself. That engine. Term is built. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a chat going around that doesn't relevant to me, I don't think. Oh, I go. If it helps, I get YouTube comments on a semi-regular basis complaining about my pronunciation of things. Sorry, people have, though English is my first and only language, but even with that, people have, oh, this can be deleted, dummy. Retrograde. I gotta do an a avoidance maneuver here, like a proper Like a proper spaceman. But people have different accents, so they say things differently. And I always get like, you shouldn't say that. You should say it like this. And sometimes I say things wrong because I'm not exactly the most literary of people out there. But come on, man. Give it a break. Okay. I'm going to just do a little bit of an avoidance maneuver here. So that's just a little bit of RCS. That is more than enough. And now, where's Mr. Sun? Oh, that's going to be fine. Let's get to that maneuver. Yeah, I think we can just do it this way. Let's go. This will just make sure that we're going to miss the station. Is really all that was. We should have the station behind us once we go around and do another half an orbit. Ah, NC Davis, thank you very much. You don't have to pay for questions, but I'm not going to complain. But what's the plan for next week? That's a really good question. Let me get this program started and we'll think about... Oh, let's type properly. Okay. So the station should now be really back there somewhere. I've lost track of where the station is. There's the station. Okay, well that's not behind us, but we're not going to crash into it either. The plan for next week. Well, what I got to do, let's see, what time we at? We still got a bit of this. I want to get these folks home. Hopefully we'll get that. Oh yeah, the station will be behind us. It's working. Sorry, the plan for next week. These folks have to come home. I'm not quite sure that's going to happen. No, that's definitely not going to happen before this is done. So that's one thing. We got to send out a new crew out this way. We do have a number of contracts. Let me get our contract window plus here. Put this back. OHC station. We have some Kerbal Academy contracts requiring specific Kerbals to go down into the surface in specific places. We have another contract to complete a rover that's sitting on the surface of the moon. So I want to do that. And at the same time, collect all kinds of science. That's really the plan. And I want that science again. I actually am doing okay for science, but there is a greenhouse that I really want to unlock before I head off towards Duna. So I just need a little bit more science. And I was thinking, this came out of a conversation on the Discord, where we were talking about Kerbal Construction Time, and I used to play with Kerbal Construction Time, and for those people that don't know, Kerbal Construction Time adds, well, time to all of your builds, as well as, depending on where you set it, to unlocking science and upgrading buildings. Everything takes time to happen. And I took that off because I thought doing a live stream while people are sort of watching me build, and then I jump to this, I thought it was going to get just too confusing for a live stream. So I took it off. So my builds happen instantaneously. But one of the things that I'm finding is happening with Kerbalism is I'm unlocking science, and I got a lot of science, you know, I'm unlocking the science parts that actually have a lot of science. Things like the gravioli detector and the seismic sensor. But those pieces of science equipment take many days to collect all of that science. For the gravioli detector, I believe, takes 90 days. Here, close that. Takes 90 days to collect all of its science. But because I don't have something like Kerbal Construction Time, which is slowing down the time, I mean, it takes multiple streams before 90 days goes by, so I'm really not seeing the rewards of those science experiments. I'm going to give a little bit of RCS here and bring this periapsis down. And I'm wondering if not doing Kerbal Construction Time was a mistake. That was the long and short of that. If I would have been better... I mean, I could just simply time warp the 90 days to get that science. But that just feels... I hate that. I want to be doing something. I don't like to just time warp just to get science. So... There we go. Oh, we got a nice... There's a lunar eclipse happening or a solar eclipse happening on Kerbin there somewhere. If you live right there, you're getting a solar eclipse. Okay, this is done, this is done, this is done. Let's set an alarm. See, the alarm is behind here. For these folks' sphere of influence change. Let's start playing with these windows a bit. Clean things up. Just gonna go down here. Okay, so these guys are doing fine. Let's jump over to Jebediah. I didn't pay any attention to their inclination. So I'm hoping they're okay. You see, it's a little inclined. I wasn't paying any attention to that. They are going for the WKMS. And they are coming in pretty heavily inclined. I think my best plan is to fix that inclination right now. Well, not right now, but as soon as... I think as soon as we leave the moon's SOI. So let's get out of the moon's SOI. So I'll say goodbye to the moon. Where's the moon? Where's the moon? There you are. Okay. So let's get out of here. And let's get right, and we'll watch the nav ball flip here, and there we go. So we are now out of the SOI. We're coming in here, but our inclination with our station is at about 10 degrees. What I think I should do while I'm out here, and I'm not in the ideal spot for this, because ideally I would want to be over here, but that's like a whole orbit around. So what I want to do is do as much as I can right now to fix this inclination. So that works. We can do a little bit. This burn's still 10 minutes away. Let's... There we go. Okay, that's... When you see that the AN and the DN are on pretty much the opposite sides of your orbit, that means you're pretty much as you're going to be able to do for now. What is our periapsis? We want our periapsis lower. A little bit of retrograde 2. A little bit of fixing that. More retrograde. Oh, wait, not. Yeah, no, prograde, dummy dum-dums. Got the scale way too high. Okay, that's 45. We got about down to a 3-degree inclination difference. So that's better. We'll just do this one manually. So I should have been paying... I could have fixed this with just timing my ejection properly, which I didn't do because I was in a rush. So that was my own impatience got me. Okay, let's just fix this. So doing this right now. And for those people that do not know, I should really actually probably point this out. What's my periapsis at? 45. That's perfect. Okay. People wondering why I've made my life so complicated. These guys are just coming back to Kerbin. And, sorry, I'm typing and talking. Why is it so complicated? Well, the problem is that this vessel is incapable of descent down to Kerbin's surface. It can't do it. So it's got to dock with a station that is in low orbit about Kerbin where there is an SSTO, and they have to transfer to that and take that down to the surface. So they can't just simply, like you would normally do coming back from the moon, just like set your periapsis at like 35 kilometers or something like that, and, you know, descend, drop the parachutes, deploy the parachutes, and everything is great. I made my life all more complicated, but I think more fun, just more complicated. Okay, so we're going to be hitting the atmosphere. I should have that here somewhere. Time to atmosphere, 1 day and 0 hours. So I'm going to add that as an alarm. We'll periapsis and give me like 15 minutes warning before. That'll be before we hit the atmosphere. Good. Okay, so that is an alarm to go to these guys before they hit the atmosphere. Let's jump to our other ship, which should be in better position. Oh, are you out of here, Dan? We'll see ya. Okay. Alright, so these folks are also on their way leaving the moon. So say goodbye to moon. Okay. And again, time warping until the nav ball flips. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. I thought it was some sort of, you know, internet slang I was not privy to. I don't know what people are talking about half the time. What is my periapsis? It's good, it's good. Our inclination's 0.8 degrees, which is great too. I think all of this is looking pretty good. So I think for these folks, I think they're just fine. I don't see a reason to adjust much anything. So what we're going to do is just, again, set an alarm for periapsis, 15 minutes warning. That'll be in 5 hours and 11 minutes. Are these guys going to get these? No, they're not going to get there first. That would have been funny. They're hitting the that works. Yep. Okay. And so back to the SN1. Jump the ship. There's only like 13 minutes difference between these two hitting the atmosphere. I'm hoping that's going to be okay. Should I do something about that? I'm going to quick save. That's what I'm going to do about that. And if it's not okay, I mean, I could easily take... Let's get it so we can see both those ships. There we are. I could easily take this ship, push the periapsis out of the atmosphere, or even just, yeah, out of the atmosphere so it'll go around once. I don't know if I want to do that. It's... yeah. But what I'll do is I'll quick save, because that's about to do something that's risky. And, because I don't... these guys might be... You know what? I think they'll be... will they? No, they might not be. The game might go, oh, they died, and just delete them. If they go through the atmosphere without... I don't know. So I'll revert. If those folks die simply because they weren't the active vessel, that doesn't count. That doesn't count as a death. That would be silly. I'm a little nervous, though. Because, like, here's us. We have to be through the atmosphere before these folks get there. Alright, life on the edge. That's what we got. Life on the edge. Let's see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? Alright, so we're just about there. So what we're going to do is put this onto the surface retrograde vector. We're going to undeploy everything. Right? 0, there we go. Retract everything, I guess, is the word for it, isn't it? Not undeploy. This alarm is about to go off. That's a little scary. Yeah, I'll do a quick load if this goes really badly. I mean, okay, so these guys are ready to do the plunge, but the problem is these guys are hot on their heels, and if they end up going through the atmosphere while it's not the active vehicle, the game could easily decide, oh, they just died, and remove the vehicle. And if that happens, we'll revert. It's a curious experiment to see what happens. Now, hopefully what will happen is I will... Okay, here we go. We're about to take the plunge here. So, what I'm doing, I'm going to just hold B to keep these air brakes, and I want to keep track of their temperature. If they start getting too hot, we're going to retract them. seeing a notification there. I'm not sure what that's about. Here we go. And we are just a minute from periapsis. So we're going through the atmosphere pretty quickly. And where's my thermal stuff? I should have thermal stuff somewhere. Don't I have thermal stuff? There it is. Critical thermal percentage tells you the percentage to that, you know, what's the closest to blowing up and what percentage of the way is it to blowing up. And the closest to blowing up is the engine at the end, but it's only 44% of the way to blowing up, which isn't very much. So this, of course, is lowering our apoapsis for free. That's the whole point. And the key is to dip down the atmosphere enough to get you to slow down, but not so much that you apoapsis ends up inside the atmosphere and you end up going down. You want to come back out of the atmosphere. Is there a reason for the aerobrake? The aerobrake is purely about saving fuel. 100% about saving fuel. And I like saving fuel. Okay, we're past periapsis. That was really effortless. Nothing too scary happened. I do have the Trajectories mod too, which I'll bring up once. That will predict your trajectory after going through the atmosphere. But I knew this first plunge wasn't going to be too bad, so I thought, you know what, let's just do this first plunge first. The first plunge first. And let's see how my peoples are doing. How radiated are they? They're not too irradiated. Oh, Jebediah, 8% of his lethal radiation dose. Okay, so right now, we are coming out the other side of all this. Feeling pretty good about ourselves. And of course, the real question is where... Oh, see, they're nowhere near the atmosphere. I was all worried for nothing. All worried for nothing. Everything's fine. We're 1 day away from our gas tanker burn. That was the whole... I'm just killing time, really, till this gas tanker burn comes up. Get ready to align everything again. We can deploy it all. We're almost out of the atmosphere. Why did that 0? There we go. Run that alignment script once again to get the solar panel some nice exposure. But what we did in doing all that is we brought, well, you can tell there's the orbit coming back from the moon of the other ship, but we brought our orbit down to that for basically 0 cost, which I mean is exactly what you want to do. Now we can, let's get Trajectories thinking here. Open up the Trajectories mod and get it to show our predicted trajectory after this. Now I do have to be a little careful because it's factoring in the drag from all of these bits. So I'm going to retract them once again. You also have to give what your descent profile will be, which will be a pure retrograde descent profile. And now Trajectories is telling me, see, there's its predicted path after our next. So we're gonna, if next time we come around, it's going to be in this orbit, and then if we go around one more time, we're going to then crash into the surface. I think it's predicting after that. But our next path is fine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to let these folks ride. Set an alarm so I don't forget they're there. This alarm is coming up in periapsis. Give me 10 minutes warning. That should be fine. Okay, let's jump to the SN1, which is here somewhere. Or the SN2. We were just at the SN1. Go. There we go. See, they were still 700 kilometers above sea level. They were doing fine. There was nothing to worry about. Oh, I should be looking at the inclination for... Okay, we'll jump back to them. Shoot. You know what else I'm going to do while I'm doing this? I'm noticing that there's extra spaces when I say SN, that it's not, this is my own, but it should be nerve 1 with spaces here between the dash, because it doesn't match the other one. I know that's me. Lump. Okay, we are about to take the plunge. That's what's happening here. So this is a repeat. Repeat here. Lieutenant Kim and Bill are going to do the exact same thing. Okay, put them on the surface retrograde vector. Retract everything. There we go. Actually, you can keep that out. The air brakes had no trouble with the other on the other vessel, so I don't see why they had trouble with this vessel. These air brakes, by the way, are custom air brakes. They are texture-wise exactly the same as the stock air brakes, but they're actually titanium air brakes. So they're heavier. They're more expensive, but they have a much higher melting temperature, so they don't blow up when I do stunts like this. So I had made these myself. That's silly. I took the config file for the stock air brakes. I copied that whole folder and I changed some parameters. That's the extent of my modding skill right there. All right, so these folks are now doing the plunge too. But just in case people are wondering, like, why don't these blow up? That's the reason why they blow up, because I modified them. It would be really nice if in KSP2 they have parts that are of function like this, like the grid fins that are on the Falcon 9 rocket. Those would be, having parts like that. I know you can get them in mods, I can find that, but it would be lovely to have something like that for stock. But it's nice having these air brakes because it clearly slows you down more, but also if all of a sudden you're noticing your apoapsis is getting really, really low, I can drop these air brakes, retract them, and that significantly changes the amount of drag on this ship. And I can all of a sudden say, okay, I'm coming down too low, I'm going to drop these so that we'll slide through the atmosphere a little bit easier. But, so we're going to get through this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back over to the SN1. I forgot to check their inclination again. Their relative inclination with the station. There's a difference if you use this. Okay, James is saying you can use the stock air brakes, just not facing prograde. Really? I would have thought there would be no difference with which way these face. But maybe I am you, and James says he can attest. Okay, I will believe you. That's something for me to put to the test. I've always assumed which way around you have these things really doesn't matter, and just simply put them on the way I thought looked better. But if spinning them around the other way makes a difference, then maybe I should have just spun them around the other way. I have no idea how this game decides when to do autosaves there, what? That's a mystery for the ages. Okay, we are almost again out of the atmosphere. Yeah, do that. Do that. Now let's check on these folks' inclination, because I didn't with Jeb's ship. Their relative inclination is less than a degree. That's pretty sweet. So what I think I'll do is just how much to make this down to 0. If I put a burn here at my descending node, is it pretty cheap to 0 that out? So this is what I should be doing with Jeb's ship. Oh yeah! There we go. Okay, so 20 meter per second burn will 0 my inclination my relative inclination with the station, so that's sweet. So what we'll do is we'll set an alarm for that. Oh, alarm clocks. I already got it. Set an alarm for that maneuver. Give me like 3 minutes warning here. Okay, let's jump over to Jeb. See if we can not fix his inclination. Jeb needs to fix his inclination. His relative inclination with the station is still 3.4 degrees. He, unfortunately, well, let's see. See if we can fix it here. How much will it cost to fix? It's going to be a little more for sure, but I'm sure Jeb can afford it. Okay, so what's that? Yeah, 116 meters per second, but you know what? I should just do it. Just do it. Just do it. There we go. We got the fuel to spare, so we can do it. Okay, so again, I'm going to add, let's take off this periapsis warning for jet. Burn, yeah. Add this alarm for the maneuver. Well, let's just do it. This maneuver is coming up in just an hour and 12 minutes. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, he's on his way out. There we go. Let's do this. And then I also got the fuel tanker now is less than a day from its maneuver to get it towards going towards the moon. Hopefully I can fix that. You know what, let's just run the... Getting lazy and just use some automation here. So this is just simply, is this thrust on full? It sure is. So it's still a 25-second burn even with the automation, or even with full throttle. Not a huge thrust of weight on these guys. So this is just... Oh, I don't know what my predicted... Shoot. Might be a little late for that. I didn't look at what my periapsis is going to be after the burn. That's close enough. It'll be fine. Okay. Oh, I do want another aerobraking maneuver, Mark. No. I'm all about getting this down as far as I can. Do one more aerobraking maneuver with both of these guys, I think. We'll check with... oh, it's raising my periapsis, so if anything... Yeah, it's going to be fine. Okay, so this is just zeroing out the inclination here. Yep, inclination is getting down very, very small. That is good. This can be deleted. This can be run the align again. And we'll add an alarm for when are we hitting the atmosphere? We're hitting the atmosphere in just a couple minutes, so